meeting and operations. Operations committee to order. You can stand for the pledge, please. Whoops. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda?
Approve the agenda.
Okay. Three on approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
will, as far as the start time survey on the agenda, will we have time for a calibration? It's been some time since we all discussed it. I wasn't here in December. Can we review for everyone exactly what the process is from this point going forward as well?
Can I ask you a question? I have a letter that says we're supposed to be at this meeting in conference room E. Do you?
What meeting are you supposed to be in?
Consultation with private.
Wrong school.
It says room E, but I'm like,
They moved meeting, and I think we are in the tech. So I can take that back.
Sorry,
I
I don't think that
think you're in the tech lab, and I can take it back.
okay, sorry,
I was so
thank you.
impressed that we had a big crowd.
David, just a notation, you said yesterday in an email, today's meeting is a special call meeting of a singular purpose.
Yes.
So, but there's no notation that it's a special call meeting on the agenda. I think that Robin's not here, but that would need to be notated on the agenda itself and the minutes, that it was special call. We typically do when they're special called, so,
The suggestion that we put special call meeting on the minutes.
today's agenda. David mentioned yesterday in an email that today's meeting is a special call meeting.
Oh, okay.
And it just wasn't noted. It's a minor detail, but we typically note that, so.
Okay.
Okay.
You're the only public here. Do you have any comments yet? I don't think-
Not yet.
The vote on the agenda, we didn't vote.
We already did.
We
Approved the agenda 3-0.
We seconded it, we didn't vote.
Oh. All those in favor?
Are we done in the minutes yet? Are we down to the minutes?
Yes, ma'am. That's where we are now.
Okay. Special call.
It's December 11th minutes.
Make a motion. We accept the minutes.
I wasn't here, so I don't know.
Yeah, I know, we're in an awkward spot here. I'm not
I
supposed
can
to
second
second
it for the discussion.
Any discussion in favor?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
201. Abstain. 17th minutes. I do have one correction
Okay.
on this. Under highlights, Mr. Robert Hotting presented a standard boilerplate. I'd rather have that say boilerplate.
Okay, not going.
Under which part?
Under highlights,
I guess it shouldn't be foiled.
So Weber,
on this one, the 17th.
On the 17th.
Yeah. Under
Under the
highlights.
tech.
Okay.
Don't you love autocorrect,
Oh,
huh?
that first sentence. Well, broiler's a good word,
Yeah.
but that was the only thing.
We accept the minutes for the 17th.
Yeah.
You second.
Yes, I second this.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, 3-0. Okay, now we get to the purpose of this meeting. This is the start time survey, which is, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I never attend your meetings. I haven't attended any. Could you possibly begin today's meeting with an overview of what we've discussed here thus far regarding start times before we go into Jim's survey today?
Sure.
Thank you.
A while back, we said we were going to revisit the start times. When we did, we looked at the bus scheduling because that was a driver. And what we discovered was that it could be cluster specific. It did not have to be district wide. So we felt that that left us an opening to go back and survey to see if there were differences in the clusters, if one cluster had a different opinion, so that we could make it more localized. And because we had that option, we felt we needed to go out and ask. Then the survey is developed in order to collect data from the clusters to see if there's a strong preference in one of the clusters. So that brings us to today. Yes, sir.
What exactly are we going to do with the results of the survey?
Will come back to the committee. From my perspective, they will be delivered to the committee.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, it'll be delivered to the committee, and my feeling, just my feeling personally is, unless there's a strong indication that we should change things, we won't. But if there is, if all of a sudden the Whale Branch cluster says no, by 60%, they would rather have it the other way, then we would have to decide, to honor their wishes.
I would just like to know for the record, I've learned that in the state of South Carolina, 31% of the people do not have access to internet. Now, our county may not be in that desperate a situation, but I think that there's still the possibility of a rather hefty percentage of stakeholders not being able to participate in inputting into the data that we're going to use to make this decision.
Which would be the same situation we have with all our surveys.
That doesn't make any difference to me.
Yeah.
It's bad all around. Well, this is,
I think you're probably accurate, I'm sure you are, about the availability of internet, but our suspicion in the way we crafted this with only 3 questions is to make it easy to take on your phone. So even if you don't have internet access at your home, be willing to bet that a much heftier percentage has a cell phone, and they can take the survey on their cell phone just as they would on a home computer.
If I may backtrack just a bit on process.
Mhm.
It makes sense that it would come back to the committee for further look-see. I have 2 concerns. Our standing committees have been told this weekend by the chair that the committees won't function that way anymore, that they are solely going to be focusing on evaluating PEs and the work plan. So I don't see an opportunity for that unless you keep calling special call meetings like today, okay? There's that can of worms. The other can of worms is I think we have a line in the sand or a timeline with our teacher group where you were going to present. Is this reasonable to have this report to them within this time frame, given the restraints in place? So I just want to understand the process. The board made this motion to investigate it at the cluster level back in May. So it would seem we're, a little behind here. So can you just speak to those 2 points? How will your committee reassess this when it does come back? And then also, will it be ready for the teachers in mid-February, in a couple weeks, the report to them. That's just my question.
I think it's fair to tell everybody though that the statement that committees aren't gonna function that way in the future is not set in stone. The scopes for the committees, at the assistance of the chair, were ratified by a board vote. So if we're gonna undo the scopes of the committees or change them in any way, it does require a full board vote. Now, we all know that the chair would like to see the scopes of the committees changed, but it was formed by a committee, it was formed by the board, it has to be undone by the board. So technically speaking, that's not to say it won't happen, but technically speaking, we're still operating under the normal way of doing business as a committee until such a vote takes place.
To answer, and I do hear Mrs. Orshak's concerns, and I don't take them lightly, but I would not want to rush the survey because you want to give everyone ample time, and I don't think that it would be done by mid-February before they come before the board. Unfortunately, I just don't see where it could, that amount of time that we have on our hands right now is basically about 2 weeks or so. I just don't see where this can be done successfully. That was one question, correct, Mrs. Orshak?
Yes, let me get those board minutes. I mean, it goes back to May. I assumed the committee and the district had been working on this since the board took that action. Let me, if you don't mind, just give me a minute to call up those minutes. Bear with me. But look, if the committee decides that it's going to move forward and continue functioning as we always have, addressing what falls under our current scope, I'm good with that. I'd like to hear that from you. If that's not the case, then we need to come up with a plan as to how this will proceed, I would imagine.
I would really like to approve this survey and talk about the timeline for getting the returns.
Okay.
Because that is what we're here for.
But
I don't know what the timeline is going to be.
okay.
I agree with John. This committee is going to continue to function as the committee until we're given direction by the board otherwise.
Excellent. Okay, that's all I needed to understand. You're going to proceed. Thank you.
I'd rather focus on this than that.
No, I hear you. Now you've clarified that. I'm ready to move on.
Well, let me. I mean, and I agree. I will agree with him. However, the email on Saturday that was sent out by the chair, was that Saturday? Did that state something different?
Well, that's what I said.
Well,
That's what I said.
I know, but I just was okay. I just want to make sure I was on the right. But okay, that's fine. I mean, I know you said that, but I just want to make sure that I understood both things. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, my feeling is, I just want to get the survey out. You know,
let's wait.
I just want to
I
get it
forgot to
out.
wait this time.
If we don't get it back in time and we miss the deadline we gave
Yeah.
you, so be it. But if we don't get it out, it's a sure thing we're going
Sure.
to miss the deadline. So,
I'll just say
Is
teachers would
teachers-
rather have the validity than the speed, so we will
Is the
wait.
teachers group under some understanding that they're gonna get a decision soon on this?
We're hoping that the decision will be out early enough for families to make decisions.
Okay.
And
all right,
there
so
are teachers
Nobody has
who are-
committed a date certain.
Well, yes.
Okay, that's what I'm after.
You three agreed to present to the teacher forum at the February meeting on the 13th. But we have no problem switching that around what y'all were doing here. We just want it to be a valid process for the county. So whatever y'all decide, we'll work around.
we'll present wherever we are on the 13th.
Okay.
We'll tell you exactly.
We will
where
take
we
that. We will take that gladly.
Yeah, I had a
Okay.
comment.
I'm sorry.
I'm talking about the teachers. We can deliver, Mr. Forsman can deliver this survey to each school. And the teachers can do that at the school. That's not a problem. You know? As far as parents is, if they don't have the internet, then they can go to the school and do it.
I don't know what our response to the grade was last time.
Well, I can address the speed aspect if you like. Our experience in past surveys has been that we tend to get a flood of responses as soon as we put the surveys up, and then the responses dramatically fall off after that. So in our view, in ours, I mean, the people who do surveys for us, a week is plenty of time. I mean, if somebody is, it's not going to, it would be unusual for somebody to wait 2 weeks to fill out a 3-question survey. So we can put the surveys, we can post them, we can get the results back probably by the end of next week. So that would give, and it would be broken out by cluster, by in these 4 surveys. My previous understanding from the December meeting was that you wanted to do only 8th graders in middle school, but that can be adjusted. We have a Spanish language translation ready to go for Spanish language parents. Yes, sir.
Is the, for lack of a better word, advertisements for the survey, is that getting posted, or is it going out in an email burst to all parents?
Both plus telephone.
Okay, excellent. Is that going to mention to people that they can use their cell phones to take the survey? Because it might not dawn on them.
They will get the notification on their cell phone. So
Okay.
yes.
All right, good, thanks.
Public comment, looking at the survey. My recollection is that the reason the district moved forward on looking at start times was based upon science, medicine, and research. And there's this dream that keeps recurring in my mind when a former board member presented that she had attended a conference in Washington, D.C. that stated unilaterally that what the science says, that no school should start before 8 a.m. And we had made this transition based on medicine, science, research, and what's best for kids. So if we're looking at this again, it appears that we're asking people to choose between what's scientifically good for one group of kids and what's not scientifically good for another group of kids. And I don't know how we can justify that process, unless I'm misreading the survey. The reason to look at this survey, the reason to look at this topic again, having the background of this, was that we were trying to do a school start time that would be appropriate for all kids. And at this point, it appears that we're in violation of that. Has anybody considered the possibility of just starting school at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock and pushing everything back 15 minutes? That shouldn't be an expense for buses, for drivers. At least there's a rationale that says, well, we're in the framework of what science and medicine and the experts say. To me, it's putting, if I'm a parent of an elementary child and a high school child, I'm not sure which hand I'm going to vote with. Because I know what the medical staff says, I know what the science says, and I know what the teachers say, based on the research. And I think that's probably, from my concern, what's missing is, where's the data that gives us direction? Or are we going to make things based on, we're going to make policy based on popularity. That concerns me as a resident. Thank you.
David, can I just
focus on
The study that was done, talking about sleep and health and all that, that was done in this big city. It was not done in the rural area. It didn't affect it. So for us to say start school at 8 o'clock, what about those parents that have to be to work at 7 o'clock? It won't work. Now, the way I look at it, in the rural area, those parents leave home, some of them leave home at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I don't think they're going to want to go back and change, not now. They've been doing this for a couple of years now. And I'm pretty sure they're going to say, let's leave it, just do what they did.
I'll just remind everyone, the operations committee looked at this from the perspective of busing, not the overall perspective of start time. We looked at, we told the bus schedule drove for 1 hour, and so that's why we had to have that set up. That was our focus. So we didn't really focus on, you know, available science and all that, because
Wouldn't that be
that was kind of murky the first time. So we focused on the operations piece, which is the buses. So we realized it did not have to be district-wide. That's what generated where we are today. Didn't have to be district-wide. It could be cluster-specific. Rural areas might have a different opinion than Lofton. So we said we're going to take advantage of that possibility and put out a survey and see if we can see if there's a difference in what the clusters want. There's a bigger issue of start times 8 o'clock. That's a bigger issue that we didn't focus on.
I apologize for having a misunderstanding.
No, it's not an apology thing. I'm just saying that was our focus. Operations, busing, so that's how we approached it. And it was an opening, and we thought we should take advantage of it.
My understanding of the motion, Mr. Scrivener, was very clear. And I believe you made it, was to create cluster-specific impact studies to engage the communities on school start times. And it passed 11-0, by the way. Every board member that night supported this. Now, perhaps I'm misreading this, but as I read it, it says school start times and engage the community. And just a reference to the medical component, when they do medical studies, I believe they take the entire state or the entire nation. I don't think they subdivide into groups. And the research that I read, which was done by the American Medical Association, the Pediatric Society, did not specify whether it was rural or East Coast, West Coast, North, South, winter, summer. It didn't go into those details, so.
I think it's important to remember that this committee does not decide anything. Okay, we're going to make a recommendation to the full board from this perspective. The issue of what time to start during the day is best for the kids and their learning, I would motion to move that to the academics committee, because it's not an operations issue.
It is on their agenda, by the way.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the survey. This is where I wank it, Karen. Back to the survey. So 2 questions. How are the K-8 schools being considered? Are they being considered elementary schools, middle schools, or are they in a separate category? How are they relegated in the survey? K-8. That's one question. The other is a comment. When you look at our number of schools in the district, the elementary schools, not K-8, the elementary alone, far outnumber the K-8 middle and high school combined. So clearly you're lopsided already in regard to, the elementary parents wanting something versus the other group. So you're automatically coming in with that, lopsided perspective. So just a couple of thoughts there.
The only thing I would make there is that the numbers of schools, you would be right. The number of kids, it's not that lopsided. And the survey responses are kid-specific and not school-specific.
Okay.
So if you're looking here at, you're looking at numbers of parents,
Yeah.
not numbers of schools. You're right, they're more elementary schools.
Yeah.
But the numbers of elementary school kids, as opposed to total K-12, I mean, total middle and high, not as lopsided.
We have more middle and high than elementary schools district-wide. In elementary.
I think you got more elementary,
I
but it's
think
closer.
these are questions that we should ask when we evaluate the results.
Well, I've been
Of the
thinking it
survey.
might come into play as you're crafting the survey.
How would you,
How do you classify a you know, a
Well, that
K-8
question,
school?
I'm with you on that one. The thing about,
Yeah,
are the results gonna be skewed
Gotcha.
because of population? Let's leave that question until
good point.
we evaluate the
Yeah.
results. The other question is certainly pertinent.
And then also I have another, my question was also, this says I am a elementary school parent, middle school parent, high school parent. You may have a parent who have kids in all schools. So that was a concern of mine.
they'll be able to check all 3 boxes.
Okay, so basically, you check which box at all, you check off, okay. I was wondering about that.
Okay.
And based on what Joanne is saying, there needs to be a K through 8 entry in there too.
That covers your issue, Joe?
That was it,
If he
because I
puts
know
a-
that right
He puts
now,
the K-8 entry in there, that'll,
yeah, I think,
separate them.
I think it should be recognized. I know we have some inconsistencies now with K-8 and their start times versus our regular elementary schools and
Yeah,
middle
I guess
schools.
what you would do is you'd have to say, let's look at the parent survey, for example, the second bullet. Middle, K through 8, and high schools beginning. You'd have to lump them in with, the way it is now. Yeah, that's absolutely right, because you got two whole schools there that aren't gonna have a home
Yeah.
on the survey.
of course, that shifts it to the school they're in as opposed to their age, but
That's true.
but the buses run by school, they don't run by age. But that's a good thing. I have,
Or could we just put a whole nother line, K, for,
he's gonna put a K-8 line
I'm
in.
gonna put another line.
okay.
So you're on the same. In the second paragraph, I think there's a word missing. First sentence, district does not have enough buses or bus drivers to start dismiss all schools at times.
The same
The same times.
Yep. This is why we have people.
Yeah. That's all I saw, and the date goes here thing is what you're asking us for today, right?
When, it's not gonna take long to put it up. And it's not gonna take long to get your results.
So you say you don't think we need 30 days?
I mean, so long as it's okay with the committee to leave it up for a week, with the idea that people are gonna either fill it out of
I would
their.
even go at least 2 weeks. That way you give parents 2 weeks, because some parents, they work hard, they might only see it on the weekends, or that would give them 1 weekend to know it needs to be done by this week or midweek.
Well, we could leave it up for 2 weeks, we could put it down.
And we still can have the results after the first week. I mean, because they put on a program you're using, because I know like Microsoft, some of these programs, they compile your data for you. And if it's a program that we can just see what the data is at. But then within a week.
Technology's not an issue. It's great.
I'm going with you on 2 weeks and take a read after one.
Right.
See where we are.
See where we are, yeah.
Right.
So I do apologize about that. I mean, I was thinking 30 days, but come on.
You know, if we look at the results and they're not satisfactory, we can always reissue. And that would be the report we'd be giving to you all, you know. We didn't get sufficient response, so we're gonna reissue.
Right.
But then we are bumping into March because we want to get this done by March. We can't.
And even if there's no final result, there's still going to be, there are going to be data that you can report
Right.
by that time.
Right. Yeah, we'll be able to say something.
And I apologize, I have to go to another meeting, but just before I go, I would like to say just one thing if I can. One of the reasons the teachers brought this forward was because of the impacts on teachers and the ability to retain our teachers. It's causing a little hardship on them to have their little kids getting out before they get off work. One of the suggestions we had was not charging employees for that aftercare. I just wanted to throw that out as we're looking at start times, that if this doesn't go well, there's other ways we can look at still, coming up with solutions for the problem. I think it's still in our PIP kids, those pupils in poverty, it's really hard for those parents to come up with an extra $600 a month to put kids in aftercare.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue.
That certainly
I've heard that several times.
We just want to make sure we take care of parents and
there's a
students.
consistency issue there too, I know that.
Yes, sir, it's very much there.
That's something we're gonna have to do.
And the teachers will help in any way that we can, just let us know. Thank you.
That's probably gonna be a full board thing. Other than that typo, are there any other corrections that, it seems to hit the target to me. It seems like it hits the target we wanted it to hit, so.
Yeah.
One addition that we
Yeah,
made,
okay.
one addition that we made yesterday was the initial version of the survey just listed the cluster. And a couple of people saw it and pointed out that we may be familiar with the clusters in which schools are in and the parents might not. And so we
Yeah, good point.
added the name of the individual schools.
Excellent point.
I think most of the
I didn't know.
interests in what we do with the data that we get back.
Yeah. When Eric was going to Beaufort, I didn't know anything about the cluster. I don't know about Beaufort. Yes.
Just a comment again on the K-8 schools. I think what you have is, I happen to be fortunate, or I'm fortunate to go to a K-8 school, and I'm a primary age student versus my friend who lives in a different cluster who goes to a K-5 school. His day and his time and his rest period is totally different than mine. It's not equal access. I think we have to look at what's good for all children, not based on what is the geographical location. I mean, we've gone down that road with other decisions this district has made where it's not access for all children. Choice is the big example. Now we're doing start times. We're adding on that. I just think we have to look at a much broader perspective if we're looking at the K-12 school system where all children succeed and all children have equal access.
All right, I found the minutes. May 21st. David, you made the motion to create cluster-specific impact studies to engage communities on school start times. Okay. 11-0, that's correct. It passed unanimously. Now, in what's the minutes, where can I find those cluster-specific impact studies? I know Jim's doing the survey now, and which is a component of that, but where can I find those cluster-specific impact studies? I know you mentioned that you did discuss it here, you talked about it regarding transportation, but where, is there something tangible that someone can read to say that that was done in your committee? Is it in minutes? Was it a presentation that Robert gave? I just want to look at it, that's all. And it probably would be part of what you present to the teachers, I would imagine. Is there something?
I'm not following what you're asking.
So in May, you made a motion.
I know the motion, I understand, I
Create
heard the word twice now.
cluster-specific impact studies.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
that's,
It's just the survey?
that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
We
'Cause you-
discussed doing town halls also,
Yeah.
but that never got traction, so.
Okay. But you mentioned that the focus of your committee was rightfully transportation and buses, and so you said you did discuss it at a previous meeting. I'm just wondering if there's any handwritten product or presentation that documents that exchange, because I can't find it in the minutes, I'm just wondering
It would
where
be on the
it
video.
is.
It would be the video of the meeting
Only
itself.
the video?
Right, because,
Okay. A
The
presentation
transportation
by
did-
transportation was here.
I believe it was
Dr.
before May.
Audrey, yeah,
Before May that caused you,
yes.
the
Audrey.
transportation presentation was before the May motion, I
Yes.
believe.
Right.
So it would be
Yes.
pre-May sometime.
Okay.
And after that transportation presentation, that's when Mr. Stribinger made the motion to the board to study that. Does that sound about right?
Cluster specific, right?
Correct.
So
That's
when
the
you,
presentation told us we could do clusters.
Right.
that's all I wanna see, is just that presentation.
It wasn't a hand document, it
Okay.
was, Aldridge Black came and spoke to the committee
Okay.
and said what. So that's why I'm saying you would have to go back to the video.
Okay, I'm
Be
just trying to get
pre-May.
to it.
Yeah.
It was in May?
Pre-May.
Pre-May, sometime
Could be
pre-May.
Yeah, I
April,
don't know
probably
the
March or
Thank
April.
you. All right, that's all I need
We
to
can
know.
always look through the
Thanks.
minutes and see
Yep.
when
Yeah.
Mr. Black is
I
scheduled.
can sit and look through the summary.
No, I can do that, that's
Right.
fine, don't
Yeah.
waste your time, I'll look for it.
But yeah, there wasn't a hand document, he did not pass out a hand document.
Okay.
He just said what, it could be done by clusters, and we spent a great deal of time talking about the hourly difference, and that's
Thank you,
what
that,
came
that
out.
answers it, thank you.
No, what's going on?
Approve the survey go out for 2 weeks,
Hmm?
for a 2-week return, right? We want to work that into the motion, I would think.
Be attached to
I can't make any motions. Other than this. So, yeah, that's what we're looking for. We're looking to approve the survey to be sent out with a 2-week response time.
Move that we accept the survey draft and authorize that it go out for a 2-week return.
And also, well, along with those changes that we
Along with the
discussed.
changes.
Okay, along with the changes that we discussed.
Let's get a second and then we can discuss it.
No, we already,
Huh?
no, we already discussed the changes.
Huh?
We already discussed the changes. Remember we edited the draft.
I don't follow you.
We're adding the K-8 and
Right.
to it. So maybe change the motion to the modified survey,
Survey as revised.
because we added K-8 as one of the options.
Okay.
That's what I was getting at.
I got you, okay. So let me restate it if I may, without amending it. Move that we go forward with the modified draft agenda as presented, specifying a 2-week return date.
Second.
All right. In favor?
May I ask a question? Is this a recommendation of the board? Are you bringing this survey to the board, asking the full board to say, we're gonna survey district-wide parents? Is that what you're doing, or are you just going forward
We're
with it?
pulling the trigger on this,
Okay,
and then we're gonna take the results to the
Gotcha.
board.
okay.
And my thinking on that is, we said we were gonna do it, and then we're gonna bring the results to the board. Is that-
I'm so sorry.
And let me ask you, Jim, when would this survey be out? Will the survey be out effective?
By the end of the week.
Great. Okay. And the reason why I said it is because I was gonna say, since we're gonna do this, do y'all possibly wanna do maybe 2 town halls, or just see how parents feel about this, maybe one north, one south?
Town halls is yours, so
Okay.
you tell us what you want. I mean, my feeling was that town halls was your
Okay,
thing.
no problem, I'll work,
You work something up and we'll.
yeah, I'll work something up to where maybe I can get a town hall, we have one north and one south within
Work it
those
up,
2
we'll
weeks.
have another meeting and
Okay.
talk about it.
Are
Right?
you gonna give us a 1-week read?
Yes.
on Early return?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
Yeah, we need-
great.
No problem.
We don't need a meeting for that. Great.
How about a 1-week return at the end of next week? So in other words, you have a week
Right.
of numbers.
And maybe the second week, maybe. I just have you, when I get a proposal, give me an email to you, or?
Or just, email John and I and say you got it, and then we'll figure out a date to talk about it.
Okay, okay.
Right.
And I'll get with you on that, to make those happen.
So
All right.
our next meeting is what,
Our next
12th?
meeting is supposed to be,
second Wednesday, so I
It's the
think
second
that's the
Wednesday.
12th.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So we'll see how.
we adjourn.
Are we meeting on the 12th?
Regular,
Are we going to cover, the,
all the loose ends, yes,
all the
ma'am.
loose end documents that we have?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. So this doesn't, this is just here, so that won't, there won't be a report out coming to the board on
this-
Tuesday for
Oh,
operation?
no,
Okay, gotcha.
when I could, but
I mean, you'll
I
just.
wasn't planning on it.
Yeah, okay. I'm just asking so I know what to do for
yes, ma'am, I hear you. That's a good thought,
Well, maybe we should, so just so that everyone, well, that's something, as the chairman, I mean, just so that you know, they know that,
Yeah, you're right.
what to expect, what's coming and what was
Yeah,
discussed.
yeah, we'll do a report out on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, sir.
We have a move to adjourn.
Oh, I second that.
Okay.
I didn't know that. 3-0.
You're all three of them.
Three.
Yeah.